and say, hello, everybody. My name is Laura Victoria Ward, and I am super happy to be here with you today, doing a little bit of Laban space harmony and some more somatic versions of that. So I was thinking about how I wanted to start this today because I'm talking about inner and outer space. And I mean, even just thinking about this and being here, I'm like super excited. So like, I can feel like my starburst energy radiating outward a lot right now. And I want to actually invite us to bring it in. So what I'm going to do, we've played with this with the up, down, side, side, forward, backward, the 3 dimensions. So what I want to just play with is that in breath, and it doesn't have to be directed. So a lot of the work that we'll be doing today is really specific and form-based. And this, we're going to use just the specifics of up, down, side, side, forward, backward to breathe. And you don't need to do it in the same way that I'm doing it. But here's, just let me show you, just to bring us a little more slowed down and a little bit more internal. So here's what it looks like in me. And it doesn't have to go inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, but it could. But it's going to be like this. So I'm going to think about up, down first. And then I start to think about side to side as I'm in my exhale, and then backward and forward. And I'm really just thinking about like my lungs, my ribs, my gut body, inner body doing that up, down, side, side, can be either one, and forwards, backwards, or backwards, forwards. Or it could be down, up. So just playing with the idea of up and down, side to side, and forward, backward in your torso, in your breath. So however that lands for you, like it doesn't have to be on the inhale, we're growing and then shrinking on the exhale. Like you can do it however it works for you. Just finding your length, your up and downness, your width, your side-sideness, and your depth, your forward backness. And I'm adding my hands to it just for a visual, which also maybe helps guide my movement a little bit. You could do this with eyes closed or with eyes open, but finding that internal sense of up and down, side and side, or one side and the other side, and backwards and forwards. And I'm just gonna, hey Don, I'm just gonna mute everybody. As we're in there, and you can feel free to unmute anytime you need to, especially if you have a question. As we're in there, we're just playing with this internal sensation of up, down, side, side, forward, backward. You can repeat. You may be like, oh, the up, down feels really good. So I'm going to stick in lengthening and shortening, or rising and falling, however you want to think of those words. And then you could also say like, oh, the side, side feels really good. So you could be like widening and narrowing, or any way that that happens. Just playing with this up, down, side, side, forward, backward. And maybe you want to stay longer in one of them. So working with up, down, side, side, forward, backward, thinking of it really as this deep underlying sense of breath support. And maybe you want to move bigger. By all means, you are always welcome to do that. Hi, Bonnie. We're playing with the vertical, the horizontal, and the sagittal in breath in our inner body. So for me, for right now, it feels really good to keep cycling vertical, horizontal, sagittal, but it may be different for you. And I really want to invite you into participating in what is working for you right now, working within your body, what's interesting and alive. That's one way of thinking it. What feels alive in you right now? What's curious? What draws you in those 3 dimensions? And then maybe you want to even try going really micro with it. So it's small, small movement. Eyes closed or open. We're going to get bigger in a few minutes. I just wanted to start with this interior space. Like I feel like if we can feel concepts on these small levels, it's really easy to grow them into the bigger levels. So finding that vertical up, down, horizontal, side, side, which could be both sides going wide, or it could just be shifting to one side and then the other side. And the backward and forward. And again, also that could just be happening at the same time, forward, backward, or maybe it's happening in one way and then the other. Yeah, so we've been in there for a few minutes. Let's just come back together for a second and just have a quick, if anybody wants to open up there, if anyone's noticing anything, like once you started to think about that within your body, did it shift anything for you? Did you feel like, oh, that was great, I really liked the up and down, or oh, I love the side, side, or man, I just did not want to go forward and backward? Did you feel anything? Dawn, you go ahead.
I felt figure eights.
Oh, cool. Did you feel them in one of the planes, or did you feel them like in the horizontal plane or the vertical plane or the sagittal plane? Where'd you feel them?
I was feeling them horizontally and sagittally.
Oh, interesting.
More than vertically.
Okay.
But it now makes me want to experience it vertically.
Well, feel free to play with that. Did anyone else notice anything? Feeling how two planes want to combine. So up and down with forward and backward. Yeah. Or we could say, well, let's get really specific in a second into what a dimension is, and then what a plane is, and what happens when we put the planes together. So I was teaching this to my cousin's kids who are 9, 10, and 16, enjoying moving through them all, combining also for me. Yeah, and I feel like when we're in our bodies, we can really be three-dimensional. We're using all of it together. We don't need to limit ourselves. So I was explaining to them, my 9 and 10-year-old cousin, first we have a point in space, right? There's our point. If I add 2 points in space, I have 2 points in space, and the space between them is a line, right? That's our single dimension. So here's my up and my down, and this in between is vertical dimension. Now, if I add a secondary dimension to that, if I add some side, side, I suddenly have a plane, right? So we're moving through these things. And these are concepts in movement. Like obviously we're three-dimensional, and this hand is a three-dimensional thing. It's not just a tiny little point in space, but just for the use of how we use it in movement analysis. So if I open my hand this way, my hand is in the horizontal plane. If I open my hand this way, my hand is in my sagittal plane, front, back. If I open my hand this way, my hand's in the vertical. So let's just play with our hands and move the planes with our hands. So put your hands in the horizontal plane. Put your hands in the vertical plane. Put your hands in the sagittal plane. Yeah, and so let's move in our vertical plane, right? Here's the vertical plane. I can move. I've got my up and down, my main source of it, my vertical, and I've got my side, side, a little bit of horizontal, and that makes the vertical plane. So here I am, everybody. I'm in the vertical plane, right? It's about as much about, here I am, can you see me? I'm here. Yes, I see you, Cassie. I see you, Michael. Yeah, I see Dawn. Okay, so then let's put our hands in the horizontal plane and let's swim through the horizontal plane. So we have the primary plane, the primary dimension at side, side, and we have some secondary, it's forward, backward, and we have this big table plane, the horizontal plane. Yeah, and we want to try and take the up, down out of it. So it's just purely forward, backward, and side, side. That's it, yep. And then let's take it into the sagittal. So just the hands first into our sagittal plane. So they're straight out in front of us, or maybe they're straight behind us, but this would be our sagittal. And then we can sort of cycle around the sagittal, like we're a big wheel turning. Yeah. And trying to stay as perfectly flat within that.
I don't know what the sagittal plane is. Can you explain, please?
Yes. So vertical, so I'm first going to talk about just the dimension. The dimension of vertical is just up and down. The dimension of horizontal is just side, side. What do you think sagittal is? Is it up, down? Is it side, side? Or forward, backward? It's the missing, it's the third dimension. So the sagittal, think of it like Sagittarius. it is forward, backward. So the sagittal dimension is just straightforward, straight backward. The sagittal plane, we have some up and down, and it's the wheel plane. I know it's now confusing. So let's start from the beginning, standing. And we're just gonna go through the dimensions. Then we'll make it into the planes. So we're gonna play with up and down, vertical dimension. So I'm using, well, it's actually my left hand, but it looks like the right one if you mirror me. So up and down, and we're hitting place high and place low. Place high and place low. And if we were gonna write this down, there's a way of, we call it motif writing, and it is, there's a little symbol for this high point and there's a symbol for the low point. Switch it to the other side. And just, it's vertical. So again, letting you know we're moving in the vertical up and down. So vertical dimension, just straight up and down, like we're a string. Just up and down, there is no forward, backward, there is no side, side. Even though, because we're three-dimensional bodies, there actually is, but for the use of Laban space, this is the vertical. Yeah. Now we're gonna go horizontal. So we're gonna go crossing and opening. And my legs and my arms are both doing it. So I'm gonna go side across and side open. And my second side, the bottom one, is just working as a counterbalance, counter tension. So I'm going side across, narrowing, side open, widening, side across, narrowing, side open, widening. And I wanna pretend that I have a point on either side and I'm going as flat through those points as possible. So I'm not going like this to get to the other side. If I go like that, I'm adding the forward backward. I'm trying to make it as flat as possible. So I'm staying between one point and the other as much as possible. Yeah, so which is gonna change the way that you use your joints. So let's talk about this for 1 second, because this brings in the Bartenia fundamentals. If I move my hand like this, I'm doing some like sweeping through the peripheral plane, but my arm is moving as one whole unit, right? I'm using, and the only joint really that's getting much activity here is my rotator cuff. Now, if I go like this and stay as close to my body and flat, I'm going finger joints through the wrist, through the elbow, across the chest, right? So I'm working my joints in a totally different way than if I do this. Right, so. I'm just going to mute you, Bonnie, but you feel free to unmute if you need to, just because you were unmuted. So let's go with the other side. That's the one I was just doing. So this crossing over, bending through, working through the joints. So we're sequencing with one joint into the next joint through the arms as they cross. And we're trying to stay as much in that point-to-point space as possible. Obviously, to bend my elbows, you see they're going down, right? But we're just making it so we can do it with the human body. So that's our horizontal dimension, side, side. Sagittal dimension, backward, forward. I'm gonna go backwards and straight forwards. I am doing the left side of my body, but it probably looks like right. So if you're mirroring me, go with your mirror. It's straight behind you, in the middle, straight, hello, straight in front of you, in the middle. So that's backwards, middle, forwards, middle, backward, middle, forward, middle. Same thing on the other side of your body. It's still just backward, middle, and forward, middle. So when we're talking about space, if I'm saying right or left, I'm not referring to my right hand or my left hand. I'm referring to moving to the right or to the left, right? Not, yeah, there we go. Good, excellent. So we're gonna put this together. This is the single dimensions. Here I am in the center. We're gonna do this all with central movement, which means it's starting from the center and going out, coming back to the center, going out, center, going out. All right, so we're gonna go with our, well, ideally with your right hand, place high, place low. We're gonna cross it over, side across, and side open. Come back to center, take it backwards, and then forwards. So this is a scale of movement. Place high, place low. Side across, side open, backwards, and forwards. And this is also known as the dimensional cross of axes. Up, down, vertical, side across, side open, horizontal, backwards, and forwards, sagittal. Let's go to the other side of your body. Place high, place low, side across, side open, back to center, backwards, and forwards. And again, place high, place low. If you want to be exciting about this, you can let your head go off vertical. If you want to, there you go. If you want to get some more full body movement, take it backwards and forwards. Yeah, again, place high, place low. Side across, side open, take it backwards. And my other arm is working as a counter tension. Last time, place high, place low. Side across, side open, take it backwards and forwards. All right, and let's come in together for a second and we're gonna have this discussion. So some of you already know the answer to this. And I'm not gonna give you as many choices. If you know the answer, don't say it. But if you're guessing, then feel free to say it out loud. So that movement, that scale of movement took place in one crystalline form, one platonic solid. So I'm gonna just go through the platonic solids with you because man, do I love this nerdy stuff. So exciting, I just love it. It's like, it's so much fun. All right, so the first one, the most basic thing we have is the tetrahedron, right? And this would be like if you sit, if you wanna be a tetrahedron, you can sit like this. And that's pretty close to being a tetrahedron, right? I've got my triangle on the bottom, a triangle here, a triangle here, and a triangle there. I have my 4 sides. And that's the most stable form. Like, it's not easy to roll that. Wow, oh, can I get there? Oh, I can't show it. I'm trying to show you the roll. There we go. Like, once it lands, it's just gonna stay there because it's very stable. So that's our 4 sides. And the thing with the platonic solids is that every angle and every face is the same as the other angles and other faces. So that is what makes a platonic solid. And there are 5 of them. So there's one. This one, familiar to everyone, the cube. 6 sides. I don't want to say anything else. 1, 2, 8 points. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 8 corners, 6 faces. Then we have the octahedron. This has 6 points and 8 faces. Then we have the dodecahedron, 12 faces. I'm not sure how many points it has. Too many for me to count, which probably gives you the clue that that is not one of the answers. And then we have the icosahedron. This has 12 points and 20 faces. All right, so if we were going to take, and I'm just going to give you the choice of 3 things that scale went in. Do you think that scale went in the octahedron, the cube, or the tetrahedron? And what does it mean for the scale to go in there? It means that it's traveling inside, the inside of this from point to point. So if I'm traveling on the inside, which one do you think it's traveling on the inside of? Yes, the octahedron. I like the way we worked that out. Yeah, so there I have my up and down. I have my side, and I have my forward, backward, right? Between those points. So that's how like this is how like the idea of like geometric space and our movement in Laban movement analysis comes together. And as I was talking in another class, like this is an icosahedron. Inside our body, the structures, the stacking structures of water are very similar to icosahedral forms, the way things come together. And that's because it's the most energy efficient to attach in certain ways. So that's why like these shapes are inside of our bodies, especially these. when we get down on the tiny level. So when we move in these very three-dimensional ways and we balance our bodies in these ways, we're balancing also our brains a little bit because, oh, now I've moved my left side exactly the same way as I moved my right side. So the fascia in my body is getting more of an opportunity to hydrate, to be more, we call it coherent, that it's, and what that means is that it's working in relationship with other systems in our body better. And the systems that matter are, one, our nervous system, because our nervous system is routed through our fascia. So anytime we're getting the fascia to do some movement, it's giving a little of this to our nervous system. And this type of movement is the type of movement that, what's the word I want to use? Like sort of detoxifies the body, like water moving through a stream. If water is moving through a stream and there are no rocks and nothing for it to move against, it's not clearing. Like that's part of how things filter, the filtration. Oh, look at this. Michael, unmute for a second and can we show your picture? And you can talk so that you come on.
Hi, hi, hi. Hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, so those are like icosahedral structure forms, and that's water, right? Your book is about water. Yeah.
Yeah. Understanding water.
We're made of it. Like we are, I think when we're born, like 90% water, and then maybe when we die, like 60% water. So, and one thing that Liz Koch, who's the SOAS lady, talks about is that as we age, we're going to get older, but we don't have to get less juicy. And the way to stay juicy is through movement, is through hydration. And it doesn't have to be huge movement. Like sometimes like the more subtle micro movement is going to have more effect than the huge movement that's sort of repeating a pattern that goes over and over again. Okay, let's move from our dimensional cross of axis. Oh, we got another picture. Oh, I was gonna do that. Let's do that really quick since you're showing it right now. I'm just gonna draw it. Hold on.
So you can talk about it and I'll just have it here. This is the notation, the motif notation for the sequence that Laura is taking us through.
Yes, but I want to, it's right here.
Hi.
Yeah. So I'll show you really quick. I'll draw it. Here's the center with a dot in the middle. That is the center. That's placed high. That's placed low. So that's the vertical right there. We got high, middle, and low. Then we have the two sides, right side and left side. And then for forward and for backward, we're going to say forward middle. I'm going to draw them here. So I may be putting the notch on the wrong side since I'm drawing upside down. This is middle. If the notch is on top, it's forward. If the notch is on the bottom, it's backward. So that's the sagittal. So there's the horizontal plane, the vertical plane, and the sagittal plane. So this is how the motif writing works that goes with that. And you could draw or make a scale just by writing symbols and then like, oh, where did it go? And finding it out that way. So let's move into, well, first let's ask, are there any questions? Because this is a lot of material.
Have you ever seen people who haven't studied the Laban, as extensively as you do? Other people use similar symbols when they notate choreography in ballet or jazz or whatever other world?
I'm sure that the two triangles are pretty basic, but no, I don't see anyone use any of that stuff. And to be honest, I usually don't use it. I like it as an idea and a framework, but I don't feel like I'm not, when I'm doing choreography, we have cameras, we can film it. I feel like it's more the concept and the use of it is more important than writing it down. Now, I do use it if I was going to talk about a person. Like I might say that they have like a pull to back high, or their energy is really forward low or whatever, or just I might use it in different ways. But for choreography, I really actually barely ever use it. But right side, left side, it's an arrow. It's not any big thing. And I would use it if I was going to be teaching, like if I was going to have you guys get together and make your own scales, it would be nice if we could draw them out. And then it adds another element to memory. So if we want to like create a memory and know something, the more portals into that thing that we have, the more we've anchored it into our reality and our memory. So if we have a written language for it as well as a moving language for it, then it's going to be a lot easier to remember and to come back to. Any more questions before we go on? Do you have one, Ray? Or are you good? Oh, Dawn has one.
I'm curious to explore that idea that the inside of our body has icosahedron energy in it. Is there a way to explore that further? That book that Michael shared is a good book.
I feel like the way to explore that was in the very beginning when we were playing with that up and down and side and letting it go. Like that is a way. Oh, we just lost Fabian. I think he was saying goodbye. Is that a goodbye from you too, Michael?
No, that was a goodbye to Fabian.
Oh,
just
okay.
a little too late.
I can only stay for half an hour. Okay. All right, he wrote us a note. All right, so let's move on. So we're going to go into, and Dawn, we can spend more time with that, but I want to get more of the basis of everything before we go there.
And that woman's name you mentioned was Liz Koch? K-O-C-H?
Yeah, or Cook, depending on how, I always call her Liz Koch. She calls herself Liz Cook, but I asked her, she's like, whatever. She's like, you know how Americans are very intense about how you say their name? And I don't know, for some reason, it just comes out like that for me.
Is she American? She's not American.
Yeah, she's American. And she's like, yeah, whatever, it's my name. It can be this, it could be that. Depending on what country you're in, you're going to say it differently. All right, so let's come to the planes again, or to the planes. Since we were playing with them here, let's play with the vertical plane. So let's first find our vertical dimension just in our body. So our vertical dimension is the up and down. We've got up and down, vertical dimension. It is the primary dimension in the vertical plane. So we have vertical dimension up and down. Our secondary dimension in the vertical plane is side, horizontal. So we open out. And the way that we want to think about these planes is that the vertical plane is like a door. It's like we're standing in a doorway. Yeah, this is actually, so if we're in the doorway, we have a point at the high right, point at high left, low right, and low left. High right, high left, low right, low left. High right, high left, low right, low left. Yeah, high right. And so I'm open wide in my legs so that when I can go down, it's not like I'm not close together and then trying to go, but I'm opening wide so I can really reach down there. Let's travel through those points a little differently. So going from my wide stance, I'm going to start with low right, and I'm going to cross up to high left. Down, low right, crossing up to high left. And I'm using my other side is also crossing. Then I'm just going to open as a counterbalance. So I'm still in low right and high left, but the other half of my body is working as a counterbalance. Low right, high left. Let's do it on the other side. Low left, high right. Low left, crossing up, high right. Low left, high right. Low left, high right. And again, we're thinking of those 2 points and we're traveling as flatly into those points. So we're not adding any front back into that. And then so we were narrow, wide at the bottom, narrow on top. We could be narrow at the bottom and wide on top. So we're crossing down to low right, opening to high left. Crossing down, low right, opening, high left. Crossing down, low right, opening, high left, crossing down, low right, opening, high left. Switching to the other side, crossing down, low left, opening, high right, down, low left, opening, high right, down, low left, high right, last one, low left, high right. So those are just different ways. I could do the whole thing with one hand, right? So I'm going to go high right, high left, low right, low left, high right, high left, low right, low left. Let's go the other direction with the other hand. Low right, high right, high left, low left, low right, high right. Not saying the points anymore because it's too confusing for me. So that's another way. Or we could just cycle through like this, just cycling around, trying to be as flat as you can. You're cycling through the vertical plane, trying to take out the side and change direction, cycle the other way. So as you can feel, there's a lot of arm circling in here. Your arm circling. In fact, pretty much in any plane, we're going to be doing a lot of arm circling. So that's how that also relates to Bartenia fundamentals, because one of the fundamentals is an arm circle. So let's go to the horizontal plane. I'm going to face the other direction, so you'll be going the same way as me. So I'm going to go right forward middle, left forward middle, right back middle, left back middle, right forward middle, left forward middle, right back middle, left back middle, right forward middle, left forward middle, right back middle, left back middle. So that's just moving through my big table plane. You want to think that you're in the middle of a table and the heads are at the two sides. So the dominant dimension in the horizontal plane is the horizontal dimension. The secondary dimension is a little bit of forward backwards, sagittal. Yeah. So now we're going to cross through it. So you're going to cross to left forward middle, crossing left forward and middle with your so you want to cross your body on that one. Yeah, and take it to right back middle. Crossing over, left forward middle. Yes, and taking it back, right back middle. So in a perfect world, if we really want to show the space, you want to keep your hip bones facing front. So if I twist, then I'm just going straight forward. If I keep my hips and it's working across, then I'm finding more specificity in the space that I'm using. Right forward middle, or sorry, left. It's so weird because I keep having to shift what I'm saying because of the what you're seeing so that you can mirror it. It's the same as if I was teaching to people in the room. Let's go with the other side. So we're going to cross in the front and we're going to go right forward middle and we're going to open back to left back middle. Crossing, right forward middle, opening back, left back middle. Right forward middle, left back middle. Yeah, so see if you can get your body to also move into these, right? Like, so it's not just here, but you can get it into a more three-dimensional, like if you want to be really exciting, you can take it in those points in space and like lift a leg. Yeah, getting dancy. Yeah, so when you go to the back, Caroline, try to keep your hips still square to the front. Yeah, exactly. Yes. So that's going to make a big difference. Yes, look at you go, Bonnie. Nice. All right. Okay, so let's just cycle in the horizontal plane. So if we were all a group in the same room, this would be like a great way to do that wonderful modern dance thing called flocking, like where everybody moves together like a flock. So since we are not all in the same room, sadly, we can only flock on Zoom. It's not quite the same, but let's imagine that you have people all around you and you're all cleaning off the table together. So you're just kind of walking around in the circle, wiping off this big, huge table, swiping everything off of it. Yes. And then let's change the direction, go the other way. So we're cycling in the horizontal plane. Yes, yes, yes. Try to get into the backspace as well. Excellent. Wonderful. Look at you, you modern dance machines. Wonderful. Okay, so let's now take it into the sagittal. And our points in the sagittal are forward low, forward high, backward low. So let's just do it. Let's start on our, well, it's my right side, but it'll be your left side. Let's start with forward low, forward high, backward high, backward low, forward low, forward high, backward high, backward low, forward low, forward high, backward high, backward low. Now change it to your other hand.
Can I ask the transition from back high to back low? Are you just rotating the joint?
Yes, I'll show you sideways what that looks like. So if I was, I'm just gonna do yeah, so I'm going forward low, forward high, backward high, backward low. Really open through here so I'm not hurting my shoulder. Forward low, forward high, backward high. My chest is spiraling open, backward low. And my pelvis is forward. I could do here, but then my body's not really going into that. So usually we're in that kind of a tilt. Forward low, forward high, backward low. All right, let's do it on the other side if you haven't done it. You probably have. Let's do it in the other direction. So if we're going this way, it's kind of like bowling. If we're going this way, it's like throwing a ball. So working with it'll be your right side. Let's go low, forward low, backward high, forward high, forward low, backward high, forward high. So again, here is that Bartenieff arm circle. It's also a weight shift. We are shifting our weight forward and backward. And ideally we're breathing. So we've got this underlying breath support happening. Yeah, and then there's the rotation factor in your arm to let that spiral have access to the spiral. We've also talked about in the past the sort of clavicle, humerus, pinky, scapula relationship. So that as that whole thing is circling around, this whole upper quadrant of your body, which is going to include your rib cage and lungs, is getting some nice mobility. So let's come together and just take a little break on that for 1 second. And let me try and screen share my this little, hold on, I gotta open it up first. Talk amongst yourselves. Just kidding. I'm gonna screen share this PowerPoint that I just made. Okay. Look at this. Are you seeing my screen, desktop? Okay. Laban, space harmony. So the picture underneath that you're seeing is actually something that I drew, but this is like within that you can see there's a tetrahedron, there's a cube. You can see how the crystalline forms all nestle within each other. And this is also actually a class I really want to do, is like teaching how to draw this space. Like it involves a compass and a ruler, and it's super fun. And some colored markers or whatever you got. Okay, so there's the planes. The top one, he's like that standing in the doorway. That is the vertical. The middle one, that's supposed to be forward, backward. That's the sagittal. The bottom one is the horizontal, just to give you an image of what that looks like. And if we think of them as rectangles, it really works with the way that we're going to use them when we create the icosahedron. Here's another version of the planes. There's the forward, backward, sagittal standing in the middle of it, the vertical, and then the horizontal. That's kind of an awkward version, but I thought I'd show it anyway. And then here's levels, right? So we've got the high, the middle, and the low. Right now, the person in the bottom is actually moving in the vertical plane. He's in the middle of that. He hasn't gone to the forward corner or the backward corner. If he was to go to corners, we'd be talking about the cube. So there in the bottom is a person moving in the cube. And then down here on this other side that's an icosahedron, and that's the planes put together. So that's the juxtaposition of the vertical, the horizontal, and the sagittal plane. I think that's my last one that I have on here. It is. So I'm going to stop sharing and come back. So just to give you some imagery of how that works, like I feel like, again, it's the more sort of layers that we can put this in on, the more sense it makes. I do have a couple other pictures that I'll get them up on the, yeah, so there is a octahedron. That's the first one that we did. And last week we did the movement in the cube. And this is the icosahedron, which has the planes put together. So I'm just going to show one more time what that would look like. And maybe we can play a little bit with the icosahedron today. Although Michael did bring up the idea of moving in the cube from the bottom to the top, which is also really fun. So here's a icosahedron. So here, if I'm holding it like this, these 2 points on top and the 2 points on bottom create the outside of the vertical plane. If I put my hand in the middle of that, it's like this, that's my vertical plane. Here I have my horizontal plane. These are the 2 points on the outside of the horizontal plane. If I put my hand in the middle of that, there's the horizontal plane. These 2 points in front and these 2 points in back are the sagittal plane. For me, if I put my hand in the middle, that is the sagittal plane. So for me, it would be like this. So that, yeah, does that make sense? It's a lot. And let me tell you, like when you study movement analysis, like you spend a year learning this information. So it's just, you know, each version, each time we do it, it's another layer of bringing that into your body. And for me, like, I just feel like it never gets old. It's still always super fun and interesting. And there are new nuances to learn. And like, well, what if I think of moving my ears in this, or, you know, what if I move from my nose? What if, yeah, my eyes. So like, there's always different places to play with that information. So before we go on, let me ask, and maybe there's going to be a diversity of answers to this. So are you thinking, let me just ask you, what are you guys wondering about right now? Any questions?
What you just said sounds fascinating for me, the whole moving elements of your face. Could you elaborate on that?
Yes. So let's just do it with our eyes. Let's just do up, down. Let's do the basic scale. Up, down, side, 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 backwards. What is backwards? How do you move your eyes back in your head? And then forwards. So just thinking about what that is. So again, up. And we could just do it with our eyes. Like maybe I'm not going to move my head, just eyes. Up, down, side, side, backwards, and forwards. Let's try it one more time without moving our heads. So you're kind of stabilizing. And this is very much like what Feldenkrais was working with. Like Feldenkrais did a lot of stuff with eye movement. And also, if you think about it, like that's that tissue, how often do you get that movement? Or are you always a head turner or a whole body turner? Like, how do you look at something? Like some people, it takes the whole body. There's no movement in the neck, anything. Or some people, it's move your head. The Deborah Hay news, her one embodiment tip was move your fucking head, which I loved because she had watched a video of herself and she's like, turn your fucking head, move your head around, because as soon as you shift just your head, you've changed perspective, right? Everything looks different now. So let's go again with the eyes. So we're staying in stillness for a second and then up, down, side, side, backwards, and forwards. Let's do it 2 more times. If your eyes are getting tired, then just watch us. So it's always a possibility not to participate. Up, down. Try to alternate which side is the first one in the side, and then backwards and forwards. Yeah, so one more time. Up, down, side, side, backwards, and forwards. What are you guys noticing in there?
It's the backward and forward that is, to me, and like, you know, it's easy to look side, but how do you translate the backward and forward? That's complex to me.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the important question, because right now, in the way that we're living, most of our lives are this. And people are reaching with their eyes, right? And so finding the backspace, think of just the backspace in your eyeball. Like that's my favorite, like going into that backspace is like, I do let my body move a little bit so I can really feel what backwards is. I retreat into myself. And I just imagine my eyes softening into my head. And then when I open, I give time to let the world come back in. Right? How about the rest of you? Anything else you're noticing? Like, I'm loving that backspace. That was the thing I was like, oh my God. And whenever we do, like me and Cassie and you, Marie Christine, we've done some of this really micro movement, head nodding, and Michael has done it. I always become very aware of that move into the back of my brain, into the center space of my being. Like, we're very deep, and even our spines, like our spine is a big item. If this is my body around my spine, here's my back, here's my front, like it's coming in here. It's not, it's part of my central core. We think of our spines being on our back, but they are part of our whole structure. So just the way that we, so this is part of the inner space, right? So much about how we conceive or perceive our own bodies can really change when we start to think about these things, like, how do I find the backspace with my eyes? All that type of stuff. So letting that be, the constant inquiry, because I don't think there are answers to these questions. I think that there is only experience and process to these questions. So what else? What else are you guys noticing? Oh, wait, unmute yourself.
I just thought I'd say that I found the process of observing internally does over time bring awareness and life within, and just to, reinforce what you're saying. And these larger kind of macro movements, to micronize them within, is a life journey.
Yeah, it totally is. I completely agree. Ray, you were going to say something.
No, actually, just going to say, I mean, just to repeat what you, I found it interesting actually, because of course, when your eyes go forward, you're like drinking in the world, really, So I never thought about eyes going backwards, but it is kind of becoming kind of introverted, or kind of, yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else want to discuss that at all? Or shall we go on? It looks like everyone's pretty deep in the eyes at the moment.
Is there, so we did up, down, side, side, back, forward. What about hitting the diagonal points?
Yeah, I was just gonna go there. Since we're in this eye space, let me just get my chair. I think that we're gonna play with the planes, using the eyes in the planes. Because then we can explore even more of this forwards and backwards and up and down.
And Laura, would you mind, it would help my brain if I do close my eyes and go internal, if you could show us the shape and then cue the space.
Wait, it can, what?
Like if we're doing like eyeball cube, if you show the cube and then we do it.
Oh, right. Well, we're just going to do planes. So
okay.
Not cube. Although, I mean, well, maybe cube is really good because it's 3-dimensional. Yeah, let's do cube, and it'll be an intro to cube for the new people who haven't been here last week. And cube is so exciting. So let's talk about the cube really quickly. Then we're going to get into eyeballs with the cube. So here's the cube. In the cube, we've done the planes. We've done the straight dimensional cross of axis, which is a single dimension. Then we do the planes, which has 2 dimensions. The cube is 3 equal spatial poles. So if you imagine that you're sitting inside of a square room, and you look to your, let's go there, right forward high, and let's try and just do it with your eyes. So you're gonna see the right forward high of the cube, of the corner of your room. 3 equal spatial poles, equally up, equally side, equally forward, boom. Let's try that on the other side. Left forward high. I feel like it's gonna be really weird to go back because now we've got these 3 dimensions, but let's try it. So let's go right forward high, and you're gonna close your eyes and imagine going to the exact opposite diagonal with your eyes. So it's gonna be left back low. And take as long as you want. We're just gonna go between those 2 points. So right forward high to left back low. Letting your eye move in whatever way, opening, closing, even the top, you could do it with your eyes closed. And don't strain yourself on this. Don't think that it has to be the biggest movement. Just think that, what if I'm going to that forward high right corner and then that left back low corner? And then come out of it. Just give it a break for a second. Come back to neutral, soften, maybe turn your head or whatever you need to do to neutralize. Yeah. And relax your jaw while you're at it. Give your jaw a little soft tongue, little droopy voice. Yeah. It's going to relax my face. Yeah. So anytime your teeth are closed, there's going to be more tension in your jaw. So see if you can just soften and release that. And then let's go with the other diagonal. So we'll go left forward high to right back low. Just with your eyes. Maybe there's a little movement in your body. Maybe you need to move your body, so then do that. It's fine. Just really work it in whatever way feels interesting. So what I'm noticing for myself, and I'm just going to name it, is whenever I start to go to that left back low and I'm taking it in, it just slows me right down. Brings me, I can feel my body go into that soft parasympathetic space. And I feel like within our bodies, there's sort of this internal map that will take us to certain moves and certain poses are going to be like, whoa, instantly parasympathetic. And I did not know that about this visual one, but down there, that crossing the eyes or taking the eyes, or not crossing them, taking them both down to that low back corner is, to me, bringing myself into a much more slowed down parasympathetic place. So I actually want to take us into bigger movement. We didn't do the whole cube with that, but I feel like we did enough of it to feel what could actually. I'm lying. We're going to do the other ones because I feel like now we've been in those high in the front. We need to go low in the front. So we're going to go to right forward low to left back high. So again, we're getting those 3 dimensions. Right forward low, it's equally forward to the right and down. And then left back high. And it might not even be that you're moving your eyes that much. It might just be you're moving the idea in your mind. And then relax, shake it out for a second. And when you're ready, shift it to the other one. So you're going to left forward low with your eyes to right back high. Maybe letting your head move just a little bit. We don't want to lock anything up as we're doing, at least I don't. Like, I want freedom in there. So if I need a little bit of extra movement, I'm going to take it. Yeah, and even just feeling the difference of the personality in my body of that back high diagonal from the back low diagonal, there's an opening again into that place of wonder. There's an opening into a lightness, which brings us a little bit into effort, which is what Bonnie had wanted to ask about. But here's the little natural review. So we're just going to talk quickly about effort. Yeah, free in the head, super important. So that's what Michael just said. Thanks for cueing to be free in the head. I think that especially for the dancers in here, we're really good at forcing our bodies into doing stuff. And I think especially as you age, you definitely need to learn not to force it into anything. You need to learn to allow, to offer, and to be curious, but don't push. Because that's just, I mean, we do it enough everywhere else. So in movement exploration, it's nice to just have that be a little more free and open. Okay, so before we get into the cube, let's talk about effort. So it's der Antrieb, which maybe Benjamin can explain more what that means in English, because it's this idea, it's not the idea of how hard you work, but it's how something reveals. Do you know the word? Der Antrieb? Wait, you're frozen.
The German word Antrieb.
Yeah.
No.
Am I?
What's your English word?
It's effort. Hold on.
Okay. We have 2 meanings in German. Like motivation.
Yes.
Yep.
Incentive, drive. Yeah, it's Antrieb. Yeah. So what it means in the English translation is, think of it like the spice of the movement. So it's not like, oh, he moved with a lot of effort, which in English would mean like really tried hard. It's not like that at all. It's more like the effort is the quality of the movement, the dynamic quality. So in Laban, we talk about, and these are affinities, which means it's likely that it's going to be this way, but it doesn't have to be this way. So that the likelihood is that as movement goes up, it's going to move up with what we would call in effort lightweight. So it would rise with lightness, lightweight, and then it would come down with strength. This is just a framework for thinking about movement and describing movement. And I'm adding effort to space and telling you what the affinities are, what is likely to happen. So movement would rise with lightness and come down with strength. So try it in your hands. Imagine your hands just coming up, very light, like a feather floating up, and then coming down, very strong. Yeah, and we don't need to necessarily put time in there, so it's not going to go faster or slower, but it's going to go up light and come down really strong, really muscly, really, yeah, light and easy, floating its way up and then coming down strong. Yes, and one more time. Floating up with lightness and coming down. Propulsion from Latin. Before. That totally confused me, but yes, okay. So let's go with, so that's our lightweight is an effort quality, a dynamic of movement, and we're just adding it to space. Doesn't have to be in space this way, but we're doing it because there's a reason actually. In the cube, we like to add these efforts. So rising with lightness, coming down with strength. We would talk about crossing the body as being direct space. So I'm just gonna show you direct space. Boom, direct space. I am looking right at you. Or the kitty, or there's that. Like it's boom, there's one thing, it's very clear, I am looking at that. And this is direct space effort, not direct big space, the space around me, but space effort, which is the dynamic. So if I come into a room, I'm looking for my friend, I'm looking around with indirect space. I don't see my friend, where are they? I'm open to all the space. You can see I'm in the looking around the space, but I haven't found them, and boom, there they are, direct space. So the affinity with space is that when things cross, they tend to be more direct, and when they open out, they tend to be more indirect. And this is like, this is the salt and pepper of looking at movement. And I'm just throwing it in there. And we're actually coming to the end of our time, but let's just go one step further and learn about time. So we have light and strong weight effort that is affined with the vertical. We have direct and indirect space effort, which is affined with the horizontal. And then we have the last thing that we haven't talked about is time. And the idea is that time is affined with the sagittal. And the idea is that we are going to move forward more slowly and then back more quickly. And when we talk about time effort in Laban, we are actually talking about things changing time. So if something's just fast all the time, we're not really talking about time. Or if something's just constantly slow and it's not actually changing time, we're not talking about time. But if something has something that speeds up or something that slows down, that's when we look at time. So we call it sustained time, which is slowing down, or quick time, which is speeding up. It's when we see the change in time that we're drawn to it. So this is like the, like if you're making the pot of stew, this is all the flavor. Like, well, do I want it to taste like time? No, just kidding. I put time in my soup yesterday, but a different kind of time. Both kinds of time, the THYME and the TIME. I put it all in my soup. Okay, so that is just the first little taste of effort. And since we've come to an entire hour, I think I'm gonna end. I don't wanna end without moving. Let's move one more time. So let's just come up. And what I want you to, our last final movement, I just want you to imagine that you're a point in space and you're going to radiate any part of your body out into different directions in space. So you don't need to follow any rules. You can go wherever you want, but you're radiating, maybe multiple things are radiating out at the same time, maybe one, maybe another, or maybe just one very slow movement somewhere. Playing with what your body wants to do right now, letting it move as if you're creating, without having to write any of it down, your own scale in space. You could have multiple points, multiple body parts, just letting it all wake up and mobilize. Good, and then come back all together. That was our little space jam. Take a shake it out, and then just a big breath in the vertical plane. So inhaling and opening, and exhaling, letting it go. I feel like this opening and closing of breath, when I teach exercise classes, I almost always open and close with this, because just moving like this, moving our breath like that feels good. Oh, look at that, we've got Hermosa. Hermosa's like, you're gonna play with me. Hermosa is Caroline's little pit bull, not so little pit bull. Up and down. And then I'm going to stop recording.